Welcome to the 2025 Property Report podcast by PropertyGuru. This season, we uncover the biggest trends shaping Asia's real estate market with insights from top industry experts. The future of real estate is no longer just about physical spaces. It's about intelligent, hyper-connected environments that adapt to our needs. From AI-powered infrastructure to autonomous transport hubs and smart building ecosystems, the next wave of innovation is transforming how we live, work, and move. Today, we are joined by experts from the PropertyGuru Asia Real Estate Summit to explore how these technologies are shaping a more seamless, efficient, and enjoyable urban experience. With us today, Dr. Naijia Lee, Head of Real Estate Intelligence, PropertyGuru Group. And also joining us is Shao-wei Huang, Associate Director of Zaha Hadid Architects. Gentlemen, for the first question, what does a truly hyper-connected city look like, and how close are we to making this vision a reality?
So when I first look at the topic of hyper-connectivity, so I studied urban economics. So when we think about connectivity, we always think about physical proximity. And that underlies how our real estate markets work today and before today. So when we think about hyperconnectivity, one of the key things is that besides physical distance, is all this digitization, the use of internet, the Internet of Things, 5G, all this technology allow us to be connected at another layer, which is actually a digital layer. And this has a lot of impacts. First, from a market perspective, whether people want to live as close to the city as before, that has changed. Whether firms want to locate in the middle of the city, that has also changed, in some ways. So in some of the cities in the US, we see that there's this external outspread of people because of remote working, and that is enabled by all this technology advances. And while they are away, but they are still very connected because they can still work, they can go through Zoom. But at another level of meeting this vision, right? What does it look like? The one thing that I feel resembles a very hyper-connected city was actually from China, when my colleague was talking about how Alibaba works with the local governments in Hangzhou and build the city brain. It's quite amazing where they have a central system looking at all the congestion and emergency services, and they can actually help to use that to kind of pre-plan or preemptive planning of resources. So you can imagine that it can allow them to understand where is the common bottlenecks and what to do to remove that bottlenecks. What are the places that often have accidents and what needs to be done from an urban planning level, what to help reduce the number of accidents in the place. So that is quite cool. And of course in Singapore we also see that starting to happen. The government invested a lot in what we call the One Map, in geospatial technologies, and of course also digitizing the backend. So I think we are very close, but there are still a few challenges to reach this vision. And one of the challenges is not so much of the infrastructure, but also the people component. A lot of times we see that people go to this hyperconnectivity, but forgetting the people component. And as a result, sometimes people overwork because they are overly connected. And what happens is that, the well-being is impacted. So the design of real estate is getting more and more emphasis on well-being, mental well-being. How do you create a mental well-being? And we are starting to see more designs of buildings that emphasize on that, and how do you mix with nature. So that also impacting on the design of the buildings. When when we look at a hyper-connected city. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Tina and Nigel. Your perspective is wonderful. My name is Shao-wei Huang from Zaha Architects. I'm Associate Director, also leading the office in Shenzhen. From our perspective and from what Zaha Architects been doing for the past over 2-3 decades, and when we look into the urban planning, city design, it's always a very, very interesting topic. At the very beginning, and many years ago, when we worked on the One North in Singapore, that was quite an interesting urban topography and revisit, and we try to understand the city, the network. However, when we talk about, like Tina mentioned here, is the hyper-connected city, how it would look like. It's you don't talk about hyper-connected city many years ago, but now technology and makes it possible. It comes in several different ways, like physical connection, or your working pattern connection, or cultural connectivity, and there's a lot of a different level. And also, of course, and now we talk about the sustainability, and there's a lots of this energy related issue. So come is a different level. So let's see, when we look into the city, and when we do the One North in Singapore, we're thinking about how we can recreate a very, very nice urban fabric. Because fabric, we talk about fabric, you probably think about the cities something that can nicely woven together. When you have that layer of concept, you start bringing things closer, bring people closer, and with the development of the different mode of the transportation, and then you make possible to connect people from a different city and a different time zone, different location. Previously, you probably need about a day, two, and then to have people move to see each other face to face. Now you probably need to have like half day or a couple hours, which is that's why I see the technology really make it possible, and also the transportation development. And the past 10 years, there's a lot of these transportation-oriented development, the TOD, happening and globally, especially in Asia. Asia set up the very, very strong and model and the examples about how you can have a very, very strong development, and it's transportation-oriented, which means that you build airport, train station, and above it, and that there's a small city start building around. So around the station, you have like a lot of TOD development. Around the airport, you build a aerotropolis and the airport city, and around here. And the high-speed rail network development in Asia is amazing. It start connecting city within hour. So that's why railway link and airport development, it's start bring things together. And the second layer, and you can see technology. So which means that like what we are doing right now, we're in the different time zone in the different city, but we're talking each other right now, and we see each other. If you put us in the big screen, I feel like you guys are sitting just in front of me. So which means if when we do the city, we build on this, and not just to build a very, very nice transportation network, also we have a technology to empower, and when we work here, live here, and everything just feels like it's around us. So that's why we always are seeking and working with upcoming and even the existing and those upcoming technology development. And then we try to make a whole city greener, more sustainable, because this is also uplifting our lifestyle. And then when we really, really live here, it feels like you're not just work here, and also you spend your time and your life here, and your family, friends is all here. So that's why there's several different levels for when we're looking for the urban planning and urban design. And so try to create what we call this hyper-connected city. Is actually you try to create a very, very nice environment for people. They are happy to work and live here, and also very, very good transportation network, and the technology can stream the people, different culture, different city, different time zone, and different lifestyle, and you just feel like you bring the whole global networks kind of like into your place where you live. So we found this is a very interesting topic, and we've it's actually we are all in the center of this whole development. So that's why at the moment we are carrying on one project in Africa. And they're actually really keen on to learn the model how we work in Asia, not just China, Southeast Asia, everywhere. Because so that's why I think we are actually in the center of this topic about this thing. So I think we should all be really proud of that. We're part of this development right now. Thank you.
Yeah. Shao-wei, I like the part where you talk about the transport, the TOD, the transit-oriented developments, because when we think about this hyper-connection, internet connectivity, I remember there was this study that looks into with all the Zoom, etc., do we still value physical proximity when it comes to face-to-face? And interesting is the research found that actually with all this connectivity, what happens is people meet more. And they want to meet more because they say, you have a very nice background, maybe I should come. And that actually drive a lot of meeting. And I think the all this transit-oriented kind of developments, this kind of connectivity, and you rightly pointed out that, having that kind of diverse culture melting pot, it becomes more and more important. And that's why we see a lot of value in this kind of properties that are near to this transit-oriented developments. People pay a premium to be there. So it's really I think you really bring it together very nicely. Just a very interesting observation is, I understand you all did the One North. What are the kind of perception that people have that you all have to change? Because when we think about the smart city, all this hyper connectivity, it's not something that people can immediately relate to, because sometimes the technology is still not there. It takes time. So what are the kind of challenges you all face?
I think this is a very good question. Of course, for the city and for the places, they already have quite a good infrastructure development, or they are mature enough. Comparing many developing countries or cities, and they already have a ongoing infrastructure scheme or development which is already in place, or it's already quite systematically planned, and they're already scheduled for the coming years, and they're going to build this and that. So foreseeing, people already understand what's coming, and it's good for the planner and for the city, and that they can understand where I'm going to play my station, and then my developer coming here. Okay, I can build school, hospital, and the office, and the people can come here to work and live. But imagine you're working in the places, the city, which is doesn't really have that in place, or they know they need it, but they probably quite far behind. In that case, I think you need to build a certain level of the provisional functions and places, and allow something that can grow in the future. But even for the places already quite mature, let's put it in Singapore or Hong Kong and all those places, you still then actually you need to build something with a high resilience. So that's very important. That then actually, which means that your design, your planning, and can adapt to whatever coming in the next 5 years, 10 years or something. Like if you don't really have that resilience, your place can adapt to what's coming in the future, then whatever you build, it's already full capacity, which means you cannot embrace what's coming in the future. So that is something we always keep in mind when we design something. Whatever forecast you have on hand when you start doing the planning, it's already outdated because it's already in your hand. Yeah, that doesn't work. So which means that you always need to design something that's coming in the next 10 or 15 years. This is, for instance, when we design the airport, we got a handful of the data from the consultant. Okay, we know, okay, this is what your forecast. I'm sorry, good, very good. It's we're going to have this standard, but we have to do something. We still need to keep some resilience, some space, and to allow the change, to adapt, to embrace, and what's ever coming in the future. So that's actually what we need to always keep in mind. For instance, none of the places they foresee there's such a thing like COVID coming. Then actually, do you have enough capacity and resilience that can really adapt to like a force majeure or like a new technology? I mean, right now, let's put it, something technology we cannot even name it. We don't even know what's it coming. So that's something that we need to keep certain level of the flexibility, allow that your design and can adapt to whatever comes from the next. Yeah.
Gentlemen, I am barely getting familiar with smart cities, and now there's hyper-connected cities. Our next question is, AI and automation are driving major changes in infrastructure. What real-world applications are already in place, and what's next?
I think AI, everybody talk about AI right now. To be honest, actually, for us, we just scratched the surfaces. I mean, AI to empower city planning or architecture design. Of course, from the very, very beginning, we understand it generate a nice idea, nice images, and give you some visioning. But if I want to go deeper, how we can use AI to analyze the data and to digest the data, what we have, and turn the data into something that as a useful tool, that is something we just started. So we're keen on, and also we already started to working with a lot of the kind of like AI companies and also some hardware software company to really understand what technology we have at the moment, and also how those technology can take us move forward and to it. So that's why I think for us, we don't know how those technology can really take on. So in terms of AI and the automation stuff and what we do in the office right now, of course, we work a lot of real time and also virtual city. And of course, previously people talked about the metaverse, and we did also try to establish some possible way to engage with such a development. And also we participate with lots of conferences. And we also in-house, we have an analytic and insight team, which means that they do a lot of and also we have the in-house computation team as well. And we invest lots of time in terms of tool making and data mining and also training, because you need to train the AI and to see what exactly you need to be very, very specific. Otherwise, you can, if you go ChatGPT and something, they just give you generic stuff. They never give you something very specific. So that's why we need to see, if you really want to have useful things, you need to be more specific. So that means some occupations, some job, and maybe AI can replace. But to be honest with you, some like a very, very top level of this kind of like thinking, we need to initiate, we need to train, and then the AI can turn into a very, very useful tool, allow you to take on what's come in the possibility and what comes the possible ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to echo some of the points that Shao-wei made, right? So AI, I think there are various different layers of it. There's the part where the data is readily available, that can be trained, that is, publicly available, and those that are very more private proprietary data. So in the case of infrastructure building and planning, I think a lot of the machine learning parts were done in transport planning, where they use lots of data from the images from cameras to train. But that is provided the country actually allow people to access those because of privacy laws. But what we do see in more of the Gen AI, right, is that a lot has been used to reimagine how cities look like if they take certain things. So it's more like the scenario building. So for instance, there was one research where they did to look at Boston, how it looks like if they have all the bicycle cycling tracks and everybody decides to do cycling like some other cities in the Europe. So now in the past, we have to think about that, and then have to visualize it, put out a model, for people to understand how does it look like. But it's very difficult, right? But with Gen AI, what it can do is you can really help visualize, help communicate that in a way that people can understand. So people can relate that, oh, this is what it will look like if everybody cycle to work, or this will what the city will look like if you have more bicycle path, right? So that enables people in a way from an urban planning perspective, from the bottom up approach is much easier way to communicate. So I think that is where they are coming at. The rest is mainly more on the predictive planning, kind of trying to do predictive models like certain things when you build this infrastructure, what is the likelihood that it has a fault? How do you ensure quality, etc. Where quality of infrastructure becomes more and more important as we talk about the natural disasters now becoming more and more frequent, especially related to climate change. So I think those are already starting to be in place, and we should see even more as people find more new use cases. Even for outside of things, we look at Gen AI. How do we use Gen AI to actually help people make informed decisions to buy a home, right? To provide that right content. And I wanted to echo this point from Shao-wei when he talked about, how we still need the top level kind of thinking to initiate, which is very important, because a lot of times when we see a lot of applications of Gen AI, unfortunately, it's still very much on the surface level, and it doesn't really solve a particular use case. And so I think that is the part that people are still trying to figure out, but it's really a very exciting future to be in, to see how we can use it to tackle some of the things, some of the challenges that we face, especially sustainability related initiatives.
Yeah, let me just add a point. I think that's a pretty good point, Nigel. Let's take Singapore as example. It's a top down from the government, and that they have a strategy to implement all the country infrastructure. Everything will be built in the digital twin. That means they can full-time monitor and simulate and what's happening in the country, and also what could happen in the future. Also highly implemented for the whole maintenance and all operation side. Did save lots of costs and really help to avoid and those lots of possible happenings, risk management, and all the stuff. So that actually, that's something that technology really implement as such as things happen. So that's why I think it will just get bigger. Like if you look at the NVIDIA conference, we also participate with NVIDIA conference for that. So that's something that we all are looking forward to it and to see what's possible. Yeah.
Thank you for the information overload, gentlemen. Now for your next question. As cities become more digitally integrated, how do we ensure security, privacy, and accessibility for all?
Yeah, so the danger of, when we think about digital integration, right? For the pessimists, they will have two movies that come to mind. One is the, Terminator, where we have like this Skynet that controls everything. So I remember one of them was like, one pessimist was like telling us about, this is our future. The other one, of course, is like, how people use that technology to kind of control our lives, like Matrix. But truth to be told, I think those are much more of an extreme picture. But the level of security, privacy, I think that is still something of concern to everyone, because we treasure that, especially we want to have like personal pictures to ourselves. We don't want people to hack and do all this, but we still want that efficiency. But at the same time, things like medical history, all these things, some of the private information are actually very important when it comes to policy decision making. One of a very very interesting use case was actually during COVID? Like, how do you control the crowds? What kind of environment will reduce the spread of COVID, and what kind of environments you can actually allow, or what kind of activities should you allow so that the spread of COVID is not as widespread as possible. Now, those things are not possible. You realize that the governments around the world are scrambling about coming with social distancing measures, and they have like 8 meters, 10 meters, you need a mask. But how do they come up with that? To come up with such fine calibration of policies, right? You need actually medical history, you need the age group, you need all this information, and then you need the geospatial. So, in other words, it will break all the security, privacy, and accessibility kind of pillars. So what they do is that, well, they can still do it, but here what it comes in is that the data can be anonymized, inputted in, or they don't even need to anonymize. They go into this black box where nobody can access to it, and eventually we can only see the outcome of the aggregated results. So kind of using kind of a machine learning stroke AI kind of format where you go in, put all your inputs into this black box where they churn out the results through certain algorithmic learning. So that's what we have seen that, at the government level, what they are trying to do to create that sharing. Of course, in the case of Singapore, at one point in time, the government, there was a parliament debate where they used some of that information to go and catch some of the criminals. So that created a lot of concern, like, so you can track our movement and you know who to catch. So there's this level of trust that needs to be built. So we can say that, you have that black box, everything, but that level of trust needs to be built from scratch. And everybody must be somehow involved. There must be proper communications, all those kind of things. But it's not easy because the way people consume information now are in kind of social tribes. We are talking about, these days about polarization of societies. There's no medium voter. You either chose to be one extreme end, left or right. There's no middle. So I think this is the part that, the soft side of things becomes very important. And from an urban planning, how do we curate a physical environment that allows a better mix of ideas to allow people to communicate more? I think that is one of the things. Besides, we must ensure security, privacy, and accessibility, which is super important. But at the same time, how do you build that trust within that community?
That's very interesting perspective, and I always have a concern because we are in the age of cloud. I always feels like privacy. What is that? And yeah, to be honest, actually, I don't know. You guys use Apple's iPhone or use Android phone. To be honest, at the moment when you start connect to the cloud, you upload all the information there, and you start logging all your personal information. I also feels like, okay, what privacy? I don't really feel like any privacy anymore. I mean, we at the moment we're in China. It's very interesting because originally I'm actually from Taiwan, and I educated in the States and then moved to London. Okay, we understand there's always a certain protocol and all this, but China is very different. I think the privacy probably not a priority for the government. More importantly, they need to handle the situation, understand what's happening, and the camera everywhere, and your personal data is in the share pool. And of course, it's very interesting actually. Okay, here is China is the second country globally that can immediately spot a person and get all the background information, and also to print out all the data. For instance, I travel with my colleagues, and he's Germans, and we arrive in Guangzhou, and that time we only do lending visa. And so when you do a lending visa, you need to submit some documents. So we just arrive, Camera starts scan you, and you walk about like 5 minutes toward the checkpoint, and they start say, "I'm going to apply landing visa," and they start the name, what's your name, and they're handing out the passport. And very interesting, the officer sit there. And because my colleague start first, he's German. He said, "Oh yeah, I know you. You're Germans, and also you go to school here. You go to school there. And I know you. Everything." I was like, "How is that possible?" They said, "Don't worry. Camera scan you, and our database already send your information in front of our computer. So what privacy? So forget about privacy." Yeah, and the security is important. Yeah, because by doing this, of course, a government authority, there's always a good purpose. They have all this information in hand, and that they can catch the bad guy with no time. Cameras everywhere. Basically, camera here is every 10 meters, they have a camera, surveillance cameras here. And also digital currencies everywhere. So nobody really carrying cash. Of course, it's feel like safer, but that means that everything is in the cloud. And your data, your phone number, your name, your date of birth, your address, it's already everywhere. Especially now, it's always need to do the facial scan, like you go to the train station, airport, everything. I mean, if you're now in Hong Kong, you don't need to do anything after you do the checking, and you go to the start to the security check. They just scan your face. They got everything. And in London, you Heathrow boarding, and then you just scan your face, and you're already going to the airplane. You don't need to have any physical documents in hand. That means a government, the authority, they have everything on you. So I really think, of course, the government authority, they all have a security protocol and how we use the data. But we're at a world that are very, very difficult to hard to predict how we can take the security and also data forward. You can see, of course, we don't talk about the politics, but you can see the American, they're also facing the same situation that how government can access your tax documents. Yeah, like how you pay tax. So that's why in the future, I think that things will be more sharing and the story in the same place that we don't know, and very, very few people can access. So I think this is, I don't have answer. So for this one, I think it is a very, very good question. In the future, we need to see how things will develop.
Yeah, maybe to just echo Shao-wei's observation, which is very interesting, because when I'm in the academia, right, a lot of the professors also have that similar sentiments when it comes to privacy. It's like, what privacy? We have all the data. It's about asking who has the data. So it's very interesting. And to be honest, I think there's a kind of a generational kind of view, like how important is privacy. So for the older generation, baby boomers and then Gen X, I think the perception is I want certain level of comfort and privacy and certain things to be done. But I think as we go down to the younger generation, I don't think they care that much. To them, sharing is already part of it. I mean, most of their life is in social media. In fact, they even want to share even much more than what others can accept. So in the future, I think what Shao-wei was talking about, about how we can the data become a sharing portal, I think it's very likely. If in the next 10 years, there's a one old movie which is it's already old movie. Spielberg's Minority Report. You probably heard about this movie. They use the data, predict what you're going to do, and they make an attempt even before you do something. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, you feel like this is crazy. But I think it's kind of happening in a way, because the government, they have all the data of you. And then whatever you're doing, they probably even know beforehand. So, so it's a no joke.
I think, gentlemen, the moment we hit the millennium, we said goodbye to our privacy, honestly.
Yeah, I'm not worried about privacy at all.
And you're right, Dr. Nigeria, everyone's on social media, so it's just easier to track everyone.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. So you talk about social media online, and then now, if you go to apply something or something, that you don't really hand in your physical resume or something. They say, "Oh, can you send me your LinkedIn account? I said, what? That's it. Yeah, everything's there.
Very, very true. For your last question, gentlemen, how will these innovations not only inspire efficiency, but also enhance everyday life for people living in the future cities?
Yeah. Nigel, you wanna go ahead first?
Sure. I think, when I think about all this innovation, hyperconnectivity, right? I try to link it back to some of the mega trends that we are seeing today. I mean, the first and foremost is aging population, declining population size. So human resource is going to be something of a shortage over time. And because of that, we need to optimize how we use the resources in a very smart way. So definitely all this innovation help to improve efficiency, but also how to make it more possible to maintain our quality of life, given that resource shortage. The second part is more of when we think about people living, right? What is the most important thing, right? Besides monetary rewards, it's really about that kind of connectivity with people, the kind of engagement with people, right? When we go to certain cities, like why I prefer Bangkok to Singapore is the people, the kind of diversity, the kind of vibrancy. I mean, compared to Singapore, which is kind of nice, efficient, productive, but sometimes too efficient and too clean. So one of the biggest joke we had friends with people from Bangkok, from Hong Kong. I said Singapore is too nice. So I'm like, what do you mean, right? It's clean, it's everything. Yeah, but it lacks that chaos factor. So I think how all this innovation is true, it will bring that efficiency, but it also will allow more space to be released, because if you use your resources more efficiently, if you can manage your traffic flow more efficiently, what this means is that you have more space. You don't need to have so many roads. Building roads is one of the biggest solution it's a very common solution to every government to solve traffic congestion, which is not effective. But now with all this innovations, with all this use of AI to come out with better data-proven backed decisions, these roads can be released, and then they can be used for other amenities, for more open, even just open fields. It will bring a lot of help to the people. People will find users for these spaces. We always say that sometimes we overplan. As a planner, sometimes I know one of the biggest spot is that we overplan, overthink. But people actually can reuse and repurpose spaces if they're given the freedom to do so. So I think in the future, it definitely will improve efficiency. It will improve productivity. But one of the key spillover is really releasing more space for community building.
Yeah. I probably come into this question a bit more perspective as a architecture practice, and also from the bit more like urban design side. So I think those technology innovations is very interesting. Coming from the more physical worlds, and of course, we make provision in for instance, like autonomous vehicle connections, and also how technology in your house, in your office, and how they connect it to the overall the building network, and so which means that people will feel like they have quite a seamless connection from their work to their living and to their leisure, because I think people not even notice what's been changed. But from the design side, from the planning side, we need to make that happen, make provision, because you come down every day when you wake up, your smart home system already can help you to do a lot of things. And you come down here and your mobile phone gets you the access to the vehicle, to the transportation. You go to the office and the whole office is throughout it, and you have a very, very good wireless connections. And you don't even notice your life is changing, but it's uplifting. Yeah, and then you come to your office to work, scan your badge, probably not scan your badge, they automatically just scan your body and everything. They know this is you, and you come into your office, you come to your desk, sit down, have a cup of coffee. So these kind of quite a seamless connection. It's always need to be think very, very carefully and design very, very carefully, and help to have a very, very good interface between the different location and the different technology. So that's why I think from the designer side, from the architect, from the planner side, I think this is something we always study, and we also see how we can improve. These are quite important. And another thing is actually, of course, when we design the building, I give a pretty good example. We all know, there's everybody is talk about the drone, talk about how we can use drone. And the first question was like, what is a drone really something new thing? How is it different from the helicopter? They all have a propeller, something coming here. Okay, they might smaller. Yes, the drone. You people remotely control the drone start flying. Drone, of course, you take video, take photos, they flying that. Right now, in Shenzhen, where I work and live right now, DJI is based here, and there are 29 electric vehicle company set up here. What they're doing is actually they are developing they call low sky economy, and they start developing the drone carrier, which means that they can carry 2 to 4 people. And so they start doing the testing flight from one to the others, and they try to also looking for the places like the rooftop of the shopping mall or the car park, and which means they can test to see they can park. They develop this kind of like a mobile drone port. So which means from one to the other, say when you come down and you just get on those drone, and they can fly you to the close to where you work, and those you call it like a drone taxi or something. Those things it start happening. So sometimes we can see the test flight, and so it will start changing, because this is between about 100 to 150 meters sky. So which means in the future, the sci-fi movie, you see those things flying is actually coming. And also very interestingly, here we can see they use the drone to do the delivery. Every drone, they carry one big yellow box, and the restaurant, they start putting the yellow box, and they're flying to the right now they use the drone delivery station. So basically you order, and you're outside, and I feel like, I want to have my pizza, so I order the drone to deliver your nearest drone station. So even though you are by the beach, and you just feel I'm hungry, but there's no restaurant here. Okay, but there's a drone station here. So the deliverer put it to the drone and they carry to your station, and you grab your pizza. It's already happening here. But right now, when we design the residential or even design the tower, they ask you to design a balcony, or at least there's a platform, allow the drone to come into your home, your place, and they can deliver right at your balcony. So it's happening. So there are already a few places requirements, say how we can design the future living, and that can really embed such a function, and to allow technology can happen in your place. So it's really happening. So sometimes you just don't even notice. So that's why I think this is a very good question, and something we will observe in the future. But we are really already start doing something with it.
Just to give you a big tip, guys, it's something that the drone taxi is something we can use here in the Philippines. You would make a lot of money. Yeah. The traffic here is so bad.
Oh, Tina, you're based in Philippines.
I am based in Manila, where the traffic is just to get from point A to point B, a 5-kilometer stretch is going to take you 2 hours.
Wow.
It is really bad.
Wow.
So you might want to invest, gentlemen. But a big thank you to our guests for a very interesting episode, and for your insights, and to everyone tuning in. Now, as real estate and technology continue to evolve, we will be exploring more innovations shaping the way we live. Stay connected for more upcoming episodes, and for more experts' insights, visit AsiaRealEstateSummit.com. Once again, that's AsiaRealEstateSummit.com. See you next time.